Hello friends, ISI mark. You must have seen this on items like helmets, but at the same time there are a lot of products without ISI mark as well. So is this compulsory for all products or is it optional? Let's discuss in the video. Welcome to RT Stats Info. So what is ISI mark? Who issues it? There is a department called BIS. It stands for Bureau of Indian Standards. This is the department which issues ISI mark. So who should go for who should obtain the license from BIS? It's all manufacturers of products. If you're a trader or a retailer, you don't have to go in for BIS license. It's only applicable to manufacturers. So let's split this manufacturers into two: domestic manufacturers and foreign manufacturers. So under domestic manufacturers, there are mainly four categories. The first category is products under voluntary certification scheme. Second would be products under compulsory certification scheme. Third would be CRS or compulsory registration scheme. And the fourth would be hallmarking. So the first category of products under voluntary certification scheme, as the name suggests, these items are not mandatorily to be licensed under BIS. Examples would be textile products, t-shirts, garments, etc. So it's up to you whether to obtain BIS certification or ISI certification or not. The second category would be products under mandatory certification scheme. These products are the ones which mainly deal with the safety of the general public, as in items like cement, mineral water, etc. So these are consumed by the public in large quantities. So the safety of the general public should be ensured, and that is the reason why a lot of products, hundreds of products, have been brought under products under mandatory certification scheme. The third category would be CRS or compulsory registration scheme. Electronic items like laptops come under this. There's a list of items given. For all those, the compulsory registration scheme applies and you have to mandatorily obtain the license. The reason is because laptops and electronic items listed under this scheme are used by millions of people in India. So an explosion or a short circuit would cause harm to the user, and hence the compulsory registration scheme. The last category is hallmarking. Gold and silver jewelry items are covered under this scheme. This is not mandatory, but if your jewelry item is BIS hallmarked item, the credibility and trust on the item increases. So it's an optional thing. Some jewelers opt for this and some others don't. So now let's get into the process of obtaining BIS license. For each item, there is something called a manual. This manual will have all the information required with respect to that product. That is right from the sourcing of raw material to the finished product. Which kind of raw material should be sourced, the quality of the raw material, and how it should be sourced, from whom, should the raw material supplier hold a license. All these things would be mentioned in the manual. And apart from this, once the raw material is sourced, how should the factory be set up? For example, the slope in which the wastewater is discharged out, it should be at an angle of 45 degrees and the wall should be tiled. These are some examples I'm giving. It will vary from standard to standard depending on the requirements laid out in the manual. So the factory setup should be entirely based on this manual. When the BIS department officials are coming for an inspection, the inspection would be carried out based on this manual. So the factory setup is done. After that, the production process. How should the production process be carried out? What are the technical requirements? The items, the machinery to be used, should they be calibrated or not? Or if they are calibrated, at what interval should they be calibrated? All these technical requirements will be laid out in the manual. So the whole process of manufacturing this item should be based on this manual. So any manufacturer wishing to obtain a BIS license should purchase the manual which is applicable to the item he is going to manufacture and set up the factory, source the raw material and the production process based on the manual. Once this is done, you have to apply to the BIS department with the necessary documents. Necessary documents would be your basic KYC, the rental agreement for the premises, the blueprint of the manufacturing facility, etc. And apart from this, the main item would be the test report. Now, when it comes to the test report, there are two options given to you. For some products, mandatorily the testing has to be done by the BIS department officials. So what they will do is, they'll come to your factory, they'll ask you to run a test production, they'll pick out samples from that, go back to the BIS department and test them in-house, and then based on the report, they will consider whether to give you a BIS license or not. The second category is where you can get the items tested on your own from the BIS accredited laboratories across India. For each IS number or for each product, there are several labs. You can check all this in the BIS website. you can send your product to that lab, get it tested, and then attach that test report along with the other documents and submit that to the BIS department. So once this is done, the BIS will send you a letter asking when they can come for the inspection. If you can reply to them giving a tentative date as to which you would be ready, they'll come for the inspection and they'll carry out the inspection based on the manual, which I've already mentioned about. So if the entire production process, raw material sourcing, machinery, everything is as per the manual, they will right away, not right away, they'll take around 30 days to give you the license. But if there is some deviation, even if the deviation is a minor one, they'll mark it as deviation, they'll ask you to rectify it and then inform them once the rectification is done. But the problem here is that even if you're able to rectify the issue in one day's time, it doesn't mean that the next day itself the BIS department will come for the inspection again. It is more like a railway ticket waiting list. So suppose if there are 50 or 100 people standing in a queue and there is a deviation marked in their application. Once you resubmit the application for the second inspection, you will go back to you'll be at the end of the line. That is, you will be the 101st person. So the inspection will be done only after the 100 inspections before you are done. So if there is a deviation, the time taken for BIS registration to be given would run into months. I have instances where it has taken 1.5 to 2 years also. So the main thing that you have to ensure is the first time the BIS department officials are coming for an inspection, everything should be as per the manual so that the license is given right away. Generally, this license is given for a period of 1 year, and at the time of renewal at the end of 1 year, if the processes are done properly and the BIS department is satisfied that everything is running as per the manual, they might give a renewal for 3 years or a 5-year period depending on the item that you're manufacturing in. Now let's look at the foreign manufacturer scheme. What happens is I get a lot of inquiries where people have imported items from China or some other foreign country and they're seized at the port, citing that the BIS registration is not there, BIS license is not there. So if you plan to import something from anywhere, the first thing you have to check is whether that item is coming under the purview of BIS or not. Generally, majority of items that you're importing come under the purview of BIS simply because if a foreign item is coming to India, it is the government's responsibility to ensure the safety of the public. So 90% of items which are imported will come under BIS purview. So when it comes to foreign manufacturer, all what I said earlier applies, all the rules are the same, but the catch is that the BIS department officials have to travel to the foreign country in which the manufacturing facility is set up. And all the costs required for this, the flight ticket, the stay, the food expenses, the traveling expenses, everything has to be borne by the applicant. And the license will be given in the name of the manufacturer, not the importer. So generally people, what happens is the margin they might be getting from this import might be a few thousands or a few lakhs. But the cost required for getting all this done, the foreign travel, the stay and all, they will surpass the margin of profit that they're getting from this entire transaction. So please do a cost benefit analysis before you import something and make sure that after covering all this, you still end up making a profit. Only then it is advisable to go for an import. Also, the time taken for the foreign manufacturer certification is a bit longer than the usual. General time required for the license to be given is around 4 to 6 months. This is the general time. As I already told you, it might run into a few years also if you are not careful enough. So this is the basic process with respect to the obtaining of the BIS certification. So once this BIS certification is done, there is one more thing to be done called marking. It simply means the ISI mark to be affixed on the item that you're manufacturing. So for each different item, the marking fees will be different. It might be 0.5 paise per unit for an item. It might be 10 rupees for a different item. It all depends. So as and when you manufacture a lot, you have to inform the number of items, number of units that you have produced to the BIS department, pay the requisite marking fee, and once that is done, only then you have the authority to affix the ISI mark in the product. So this is the basic overview about getting a BIS license. I hope this was of some use to you guys. For more such videos, please subscribe to our channel. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you.